Chapter 23, Step 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as you understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. It is imperative that our actions in recovery remain fluid. The inflexibility of addiction did not allow us to open our eyes to the impact it was having on our lives and the lives of others. And so it is important to continue with this through development of our spiritual beliefs. The 11-step worksheet is available for your review at www.treatmentguide4u.com. Prayer is the question we ask of our hearts. Seeking the answer, we need to be successful in this journey of recovery. Prayer is creating an attitude of being teachable. Opening the door to a positive power outside of us opens an attitude of new possibilities and inspiration in our lives. There are countless books on spiritual directions a person can take in their recovery. Step 11 talks about the personal development of that spiritual belief, which opens the door to any direction that inspires the recovering person. Meditation is showing respect to our perception of God or higher power by humbly waiting for the answers. Through silencing and opening our minds to the world, as it unfolds in our lives. We listen to the answers in our present day in and day out activities. A meditative state is a method of building strong ties to the present moment, which is where we find our answers to our problems and prayers. Our ability to focus on the present moment is often limited to only a few minutes. Then, we drift into random thought. The more we meditate, the longer our concentration builds, so we fade off less into random thought. These thoughts usually consist of our past, or projection of what may come about in our future. These thoughts will trigger fear and anger, which release adrenaline being pumped into our bodies. This creates anxiety and further stress. Meditation works at exercising our brain in developing concentration so that we may stay longer in the present moment. The more we stay in the moment, we have less stress and life begins to feel more manageable. Meditation rewards the individual in development of empathy and concentration in our brain activity. This concept has been known as loving, gentle kindness in meditation circles. Meditation can be anything that aids silencing the mind and brings a state of calm. We use exercise to build a healthier body. Using meditation helps to build a healthier mind. Those who believe in meditation say that if you take 20 minutes daily to meditate, it will change your thinking. Some people fear meditation because they believe it will potentially cause unhealthy things to come into them. If they have this belief, it would be their advantage to pray, asking God of their understanding to place a circle of protection around them during the meditation. One could also use a mantra, which is a word phrase that we say in our minds when we breathe in and out. Some Christians may use the word Jesus on the inhalation and Christ on the exhalation. Others may use a universal mantra of So on the inhalation and Hum on the exhalation. Still, others may choose to join a meditation group. Singing songs of inspiration has been a process used by churches for thousands of years. Mindfulness meditation is a concept of being in a relaxed state of consciousness. It is being in the present, aware of our sensations, feelings, thoughts, breathing, and surrounding in a non-resistant, non-critical, peaceful state of mind. Like any muscle, we need to exercise our mind to keep it functioning sharply. Setting time for this activity on a daily basis is important. Usually out of sight, out of mind. We all should have a place to set up as our personal spiritual sanctuary, being it in a corner of our bedroom or a whole separate room. This space is necessary so that we can prepare for our attitude and posture for prayer and meditation. Some people prefer a church where there is a space already set up for that purpose. Others may find their church out in nature, taking hikes and witnessing the breathtaking views while practicing their prayer and meditation, feeling harmony with nature. Some people may pray on their knees, or sit with their legs crossed in a yoga position. Creating a place for prayer proves the sincerity of our attitude. For my own prayer and meditation, I use a sunroom with plants and a fountain. This practice is healthier in almost every walk of life. In my experience, I have seen that meditation assists in slowing down the mental aging disease such as dementia and Alzheimer's. Reading spiritual materials helps to gain focus. 12-step daily meditation books are part of the spiritual materials that aid people in recovery. Some meditation forums have you select an image that brings tranquility into your life, and as part of their meditation, has the person bring up the image of that in their own mind. An example would be walking in nature and grasping onto the beauty that surrounds us. I've seen individuals develop an interest in using digital cameras to record experiences through nature, family, or friends. Having these photos on their computer where they can look at them easily frequently brings them a sense of spirituality that helps to calm their day. Having a spiritual group that you share these events with is also a positive element of recovery. Some people may find this in a community church or in an organized religion. Even attending a 12-step meeting where the topic is on spirituality or the third step helps this process. I started a group that I called Soccer, SOCR, sharing our creativity and recovery. Through poetry, song, and art, we shared our experiences we were having that were our inspiration in recovery that day. A lot of times it is the simple things that bring the rewards of inspiration and spiritual invigoration into our lives. Having music around that makes our hearts sing is part of the 11th step, because it is aiding us in elevating our consciousness to a positive state of being. Being open to other methods helps us to change our perception of the world. We can do this through a prayer group or reading inspirational books which opens our view of the world, as that is a catalyst for change to occur in our lives. The more I think I know everything there is to know about my higher power, the more I tend to be replacing faith with self-pride. Am I open to being a student of spirituality? Discussing with others at 12-step meetings about their own perceptions of a higher power, without feeling threatened about my own. This open interaction challenges my beliefs and allows me to adapt to those beliefs as they grow in my own recovery. Some of the most inspirational experiences have come about from someone beginning to open up in their beliefs of a higher power, by trusting through blind faith in something they couldn't comprehend. A God consciousness would represent to most a power greater than ourselves which is beyond their understanding. This concept allows us to be open towards something we cannot fully understand. If I believe that God is a conscious being, in most cases we perceive it as a loving God. This belief opens up a positive outlook, which changes our perception of the world. I once took a group of men out on a spiritual retreat. While sitting around the campfire, we were talking about the issue of trusting something outside of us that we didn't understand. In the middle of the conversation, someone pointed up at the Big Dipper and said, "Doesn't that look like a big question mark to you?" Now, whenever I look up at the night sky, I don't see the Big Dipper, I see a big question mark. There are certain common characteristics which are interwoven throughout all of history about man's belief in God. For example, the Hopi Nation has a ceremony that begins with people who might be interpreted as clowns, who try to persuade their tribal members to focus on things that are against their traditions. As the day proceeds, they continue to attempt to get others distracted. At the next morning light, the Kachina dancers come out, and they focus on their tribal traditions and tribal responsibilities. The Kachina dancers run off the clowns. This is an epic tale of good versus evil in our spiritual and personal values. This is only one example out of many. Negative thinking tends to block the ability for me to hear what the God of my understanding is bringing into my life. If I take time out for positive thinking and spiritual inspirational readings, I experience a conscious attitude correction. I see glimpses of the world that normally wouldn't have taken in. Then I have the choice to integrate a part of those beliefs into my own. We can be teachable by offering up simple prayers that don't ask for results, or by not trying to understand what will happen before it occurs. I believe that prayer works in our lives by offering solutions indirectly through our relationships with others. At one time, I felt a lot of discouragement in working for a treatment center which conflicted with my values. I remember making a prayer when I was on vacation and I saw a man fishing on a bridge. I pulled the car over, staring at him, and in my prayer I said, "I wish my life was as simple as his." And within a year, my job ended with that organization. For another year, I set up halfway houses for a chaplain. After I completed my contract for 1 year, the chaplain asked me if I wanted to take 6 months off to think about what direction I wanted to go. He had a house in the White Mountains of Arizona that he would let me use that had been donated to him. I agreed and moved my family there for 6 months. It ended up being across the street from the bridge that I had seen the man fishing on a year and a half earlier when I made the prayer. My life got a lot simpler and more peaceful, but I never caught one fish off of that bridge. Of course, those who believe can come up with countless stories. These stories don't justify beliefs for others, only themselves. Faith is an intangible element that doesn't give us answers to questions. Rather, it gives us direction to find the answers. Can prayer change the outcome of everyday situations? What I do know is that it can change my perception of the problem. Believing that there is a God or higher power of your understanding who is watching out for you is comforting. This belief can make a person more open to other options, because they believe that there are other possibilities. Whatever ritual seems to be effective for us is important to recovery. In the morning, getting prepared for the day is a specific time for people to use prayer and meditation. Many people start the day for planning for it over a cup of coffee and reading a daily meditation book. Some may pray going to sleep after reviewing their 10th step. As intelligent human beings, it is natural for our minds to shift to the negative, being pessimistic. As my day swells with other experiences, my interactions may become persuaded by negative outcomes, but I can always start my day over again. I often carry a meditation book with me for that purpose. Prayer can also set the stage for that process to occur by turning over your stress to a loving God or higher power of your understanding. I need to say with sincerity, "Thank you, God or higher power, for this day, for what you've given me, for what you've taken from me, and for what is about to happen." The issue is not to just say the words, but to believe the words we are saying and have an emotional connection to what they mean. Meditation is a way of silencing our inner thoughts, which usually projects us into the past or into future what-ifs. I used to be confused on what meditation was for, thinking that God or higher power of my understanding would answer me in a lofty voice. Well, that never happened. But when I changed my expectations of meditation, I clearly could see the advantage in my staying in the moment as much as possible. I am not going to find my answers in the past, and I'm not going to find my answers in future events. Once we develop the ability to listen through these various exercises, we can take time to contemplate our higher power's answer to our prayers. In silence, listening to God's answers to be revealed. God, in one definition, is good, orderly direction. If we are listening for God's answers, and not just ours which we hope to identify as God's, we should ask ourselves if what we think we're hearing is self-serving, and just the same old perspective as what we know. God's answers also can be revealed through our interactions with others and not in our time frame. There was an old story I heard of a man who told a friend he had proof that there wasn't a God. He reported that once he was lost in a remote area of Alaska. It was getting dark and he was becoming frightened that he wouldn't find his way back. He asked God to help him find the way out, and he said God never showed up. The friend asked him how did he get out of the predicament. He responded, some Eskimos showed up and they directed me the way back. He made no connection that God might have used the Eskimos to come to his aid. Prayer and affirmation strengthen our resilience in dealing with our own insecurities that we experience in our relationships with others. Saying prayers for loved ones offers an understanding that there is a loving God in their lives as much as ours. Praying for others feeling sorrow and turmoil also is beneficial to this process. We have to watch out for those foxhole prayers. That is, God, if you get me out of this mess, I promise I'll never doubt you again. I've caught myself being selfish in prayers and looking for solutions to problems without having to acquire the humility to work through them. We gain insight into our higher power's benefits in our life when we list the positive things in our lives and offer thanks. I find showing appreciation and gratitude for my relationships with my higher power and in my personal life brings me to a position of satisfaction and acceptance of the cards life has dealt me. So being in the moment is the benefit of seeing my higher power's work in action. The process of experiencing life in the present through prayer and meditation offers a perspective without carrying into it luggage from the past. This living in the moment helps us decrease stress in our lives. When we take a vacation, we are taking a break from our past and our problems that affect our present interactions with others. After a vacation, we feel relieved and nourished in our lives. One reason simply is that we're interacting with a new environment, seeing things we haven't seen before. This activity places us in the here and now and gives us a heightened sense of exhilaration. Remember, no one can stay totally in the moment. We are free thinkers and are only limited to making improvement in this area. Progress, not perfection. We all rely on other resources to give us our reality. You can ask for assistance from your sponsor, your mentors, or others. Our changing perception of our higher power works in our lives is influenced on how it interweaves in our relationships with others. For example, if someone is in emotional pain and we share a similar incident that we had gone through, it inspires hope. Working on the 11th step opens our minds to an increased understanding of God or our higher power in our lives. Our addiction blocked us from being aware of and being part of the world around us. Through step 11, we create an attitude of being teachable about our awareness and what connects us with the world around us. A mentor of mine used to say in an optimistic way that she felt that she was on a tail of a comet, not knowing where she was heading. Now, if I'm in my addiction, I am perceiving the world around me through fear. Thinking holding on to a tail of a comet I could be vaporized in the sun or smashing into the moon. But in recovery, holding on to a tail of a comet, everything that goes by us is something we haven't seen before. We are inspired by the awe of the moment. This continued effort to be open to possibilities not only in the physical world, but in our spiritual beliefs gives us the resources to achieve resolution in any area of our lives. This brings us to step 12.